What's up, traders? This is Vee Trades, and today I will be doing a technical analysis breakdown for strategy with the ticker symbol MSTR. I will first be going over what I see on the daily chart and finish the video off with the weekly chart. This video is for entertainment purposes only. Please trade at your own risk. Just a reminder, guys, I am leaving on the 7th through the 21st. I will be out of the country, so my last video for YouTube until I get back is probably going to be on the 6th of December. So this Saturday probably be my last video, if I do one at all. And we'll see what happens. Last time I left the country was back here in late April, and we saw a 20% rally until about mid-May when I returned. So maybe we'll see the same thing happen again. Every time I leave out of the country, we see a nice rally for MSTR and even Bitcoin. So it looks like it's doing that. So as of right now, we're back at the same price level as last week Friday, like very close to where it kind of closed at. We did gap down lower Monday, nice push up higher off of that. It definitely looks like a stronger reversal candle than we have seen before. So definitely a big green day, followed by another gap up and continuation higher. So overall, looks like a pullback is ensuing. It is in progress for MSTR. It came very close to the target. That's why it's pulling back. Like, why are we seeing a biggest bounce that we have seen in this entire downtrend? Starting in early October. It's because we're near the measurement target, right? The target is right around the 140s, 144, 145. We came very close to it, 155. That's a couple bucks, right, in the grand scheme of things for this large amount of drop. And we're talking about hundreds of dollars worth of a drop, right? So 10 bucks is nothing. So, this is close enough to bouncing and reverse out of here. We could still go lower because we're still below the trend line. We're still below the technical downtrend. But there's a potential opportunity here for this to continue moving up higher. Like I said before, 235, that will be retesting the breakout zone. I think that will be the first level to keep an eye on after we break this downward trend line. And we cannot look for higher price targets until we see a break of this downward trend line. And as right now, we have not broken it. I'm just saying if it does break it, we can probably hit the 235, 234 level. And then we'll see what happens from there, right? Then you go one day at a time, 1 week at a time. You go look at more and more levels to the upside. So MSTR bouncing, because it's right near the end of a measurement target. It's overextended. Bitcoin's pushing up. So, a lot of things are favoring the upside right now. So if you don't continue any lower from here, looks like we could see probably a break of that trend line, maybe come back to the 235 level. And then we'll go from there because that level is actually potentially resistance. It's not going to be like something that we come up to and we break it easily. I mean, sometimes that does happen, but it might act as resistance. There's a higher probability it will act as resistance than not resistance. So we'll see what happens at the 235 level if we break the downward trend line first. So that's the first thing you want to see. But I'd say, is that end of the bear market? No. We dropped 70%. We haven't really seen a bear market for Bitcoin yet. It may be already in one, no one really knows. But, we haven't really seen a 50, 60, 70% drop in Bitcoin. And, that's going to put a lot of damage on MSTR. So 70% ready so far. I think this is just going to be a pullback. If we go up 20% from here, 35%, that's about 238. Maybe even 50%. We'll see, but overall, it's still in the grand scheme of things. This is a macro downtrend, and I'm expecting a pullback very soon, a decent size one. Right? We've been seeing some micro pullbacks in this entire downtrend, but like I said before, 235 would be like a 40% pullback from here. That's a 35 to 40% pullback, or 30% from here, and then maybe even 40%. So we'll see what happens, but that's what the chart is telling me. It's telling me that we're at the tail end of a bear market. We're at the end near a measurement target, bouncing a little bit early. We could see probably a break of the downward trend line, retrace back to the 235, 236 level, and then evaluate from there. That's the most likely situation. We can also just continue trending down lower, stay below the downward sloping trend line, and then maybe hit the 144 level exactly, and then reverse higher. We'll have to wait and see, but overall, still need to see confirmation, but definitely one of the better bounces that we have been seeing in this entire downtrend. Bitcoin, yesterday, like I said before, it's not over till it's over, so we're still in a macro uptrend, like I said before. This is why I only look at the technicals. There's probably thousands of bearish news articles and people giving up, blah, blah, blah. but the technicals were not giving up, right? The technicals were still bullish. We were still making consistent higher highs and higher lows. We did not invalidate this prior low. Now you can argue, and most advanced technical analysts would say, hey, we don't have to make a new low to confirm a bear market, and that is right. So, for example, if you look at the downtrend, it can tell you if we have topped or not. So, for example, let's say we had a blow off top, and I would still say that's probably pretty much the end of the bull market, right? If we start crashing down, it doesn't mean if we don't make a new low, we're not in a bear market, or we have seen a top. Most likely, we have seen a top, even though we have not made a significant low. So hopefully that makes sense. So just because we're above these prior low significantly, above the prior significant low, that doesn't mean that we can. That doesn't mean we have topped, right? We can definitely still have topped, and we can still continue down lower. So just because we haven't broken yet doesn't mean we have not topped yet. So hopefully that makes sense. A little confusing, but basically what I'm trying to say is that we're making consecutively higher highs and higher lows. There are consecutive higher highs and higher lows. And that's a sign that the bull market is still in play. However, sometimes you'll see this happen, but the bull market is over, and usually that will be the case if we see a blow off top, which we have not seen. So that's something to remember. So anyway, let's get back to the analysis. So macro uptrend is still in play, so you can't be long-term bearish until we see a break of this trend line. So this was the shallowest you can go. If you drag it off the swing low here, I'm like literally off the wick. See the wick right here, the bottom of the candle? That is the farthest end of the candle I can draw the line on. And then that's exactly where we bounced here, and then we got a double test to confirm it. So traders were not really sure that this was really in play, but now it looks to be in play, so they're going to be going with it. Measure move up, we'll take it to about $95,000. One leg up right here, second leg up, $96,530. So mid $90,000 is the next target. And we'll see what happens there. We want to see a break of the bearish trend line with conviction, right? Because this could just be a two-legged pullback, for lower prices, something like this. So what we want to see is a continued drive up higher like this for Bitcoin. And it may do that, right? This looks pretty good. We dropped about the same amount as we have been seeing, maybe a little bit more from high to low. That was about a 33% drop. High to low, this was about a 32% drop. High to low, that was about a 36% drop. Current price, 26%. So let's see if Bitcoin can do it, right? I'm still bullish on Bitcoin. I think we could probably still see a new all-time high and maybe even much higher than that. MSTR, I'm not so bullish on just because it's really low in terms of the trend, right? There's a lot of damage done. We broke the significant low. And obviously you can still make a new high, but the probability is extremely slim. But Bitcoin, we can see another 5K day again, a couple of those, and you're back above $100,000, right? I mean, it's really not that bearish as people think, right? 27% drop from here. It can easily recover that by the end of the year, right? If it just averages about $1,000, towards the end of the year, that's about $29,000, $30,000, whatever. You're back at the highs, right? So it's not that crazy to see that happen. And we're kind of doing something we did before, right? We made a low right here off the trend line, a higher low, and then we saw a nice rally. Same thing right here. Trend line, higher low, nice rally. So Bitcoin still looking pretty good. A lot of people are bearish, but that's why I don't look at the news. I don't care about anything except the price action. Obviously I did my fundamental analysis and on Bitcoin, in terms of like what it is and where it's going and blah blah blah. But any other news doesn't matter. I don't care what country buys. I don't care what country sells. I don't care what miner goes bankrupt. None of that matters. I only care about the price action. The price action was telling me not to be bearish until it was bearish, and the price action was not bearish in the long term. The long-term trend was still in play. This is still in play, intact, but the downtrend was in play as well. So like I said before, you can't be just looking at one thing, right? The long-term trend is up, but the short-term trend right over here is down. So what gives? Well, there's a battle going on between the bulls and bears right around this area. We're going to see if the bears are going to be able to win and then, take the price down, or we're going to see if the bulls are able to win and solidify that the trend line is working and then rocket up. So we'll see what happens. As of right now, I'm on the bull side. It does look pretty bullish, at least in the very short term, towards like $96,000. And then we'll go from there. So Bitcoin, we might be seeing a huge rally ensuing, right? Coming up in the near future. Volatility is picking up as well, right? So we're not really talking about single-digit volatilities again, or even low double digits. We're in the 20s, right? So volatility is picking up, and it looks like it's going to continue to drive up towards the end of the year, which is a good sign, right? That tells me that we can see a multiple 6% days, right? If the volatility is this high and climbing, I'm expecting to see maybe a 10% day, maybe even more, right? So this is a good sign. I don't want the volatility to be going down when the price is going up. I want to see higher volatility and higher prices, right? Because the volatility was going up while price was going down, but now it's the bull's turn. So we need to see some multiple green candles, big green candles. See, this is one of the biggest green candles in this entire downtrend, right? In this entire downtrend back to early October, I think this is one of the biggest green candles, right? This is probably one of the biggest green days so far. It's about a $5,500 day, it's almost a $6,000 day, right? When it closes potentially. I don't think we have seen a $6,000 day in a long time. Let me see how much this one was right here. That was about a $4,000 day. So we haven't seen a $6,000 day in a long time. So this is what you want to see near the lows at support. When everyone is giving up, a lot of traders are short. They probably have a bunch of stop losses right up here above these swing highs, right over here, right over here, right over here. So we'll see if we get that short squeeze V bottom reversal or not. So volatility is climbing up. I think this is a good sign for Bitcoin. And yes, that's probably going to help MSTR pullback as well in its downtrend. Bitcoin's price divided by MSTR's price, we had a little bit of a rejection yesterday, but we're still being supported by the trend line. As you can see here, nice green candle above the EMA, above the trend line, still climbing up, looking for 636. So you can see that this might be the final move up. So huge move up higher for Bitcoin, still outperforming MSTR towards the end of the year, maybe potentially early next year. And then both of them start a bear market at the same time, right? And maybe this one won't, drop as much. But this looks like continued outperformance against MSTR. As you see today, it's a 6% gain. MSTR only had a 5.78, and this is not closing yet, right? We can even finish higher than $92,000 in the next couple of hours when it closes. So far, so good. And then gold's price divided by Bitcoin's price, we're about to break this trend line, right? We're about to invalidate this bullish trend line, confirm that this is pretty much a top, which looks like it, and then start seeing a crash down lower, which means a potential rotation from gold into Bitcoin, or at least an outperformance against gold using Bitcoin, right? This is the massive leg down that can occur. One leg down right here. This could be the start of the second leg. I had it a little bit before right over here. It got slightly invalidated. We went kind of like a double top. I just moved it slightly up. So instead of here, I moved it over here. Instead of from the candle on the November 21st, I moved it slightly higher to yesterday's candle, and potentially we could be starting to see a free fall develop in this ratio chart. And again, that'll take this ratio to about 0.022 from here, which is, let me see that drop right now. That's about a 50% drop from here, current prices. So again, looks like this pullback is potentially coming to an end and finally seeing a rally towards the downside. So all I have for Bitcoin, MSTR, the ratio charts, the volatility charts. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I'm still pretty bullish on Bitcoin, and that will mean, yes, most likely MSTR will go up, but clearly by this chart, I'm saying that Bitcoin will still be able to outperform MSTR. Yes, both of them will probably likely go up. Obviously, we can just start going down, right? I'm not saying it's guaranteed to go up, but the charts look pretty good, right? If I was making a prediction, I like what I see, right? For Bitcoin, especially. MSTR, I think, is finally maybe due for a pullback, a deep one towards the 230s, and then we'll go from there. Bitcoin, I want to see a break of this trend line, just like right over here. Once we saw a break of this downward trend line right over there, it was off to the races, right? So I want to see a break of the trend line. Let me go ahead and copy these bars. Let's see if we see a move up like this. If we take that, drag it over from current price, you can come back up to the highs mid-January I think this one might be steeper though, right? I think this might be a steeper climb up. If you, let's say we did bottom, obviously we did bottom, but let's say we continue to move up off of this low level. Well, you can draw a trend line up, and at the current pace, it would take about maybe towards the February. Maybe it'll be towards February before we see all time high. But I'm expecting this to like go steep, right? Because we went as fast as we went down is as fast as we can go up. So maybe by the end of the year, we finally see all time high, and it'll trick a bunch of people, right? Thinking no more 4 year cycles. Oh, bull market for another couple years. So it's gonna trap the bulls and the bears, right? The bulls were trapped thinking that we have topped, and they started probably getting out of their position, taking shorts. And then the shorts piled in, think we have topped as well. And now if the market starts coming up, the shorts need to cover. The bulls are going to start piling back in, because they missed out. And then it's going to reverse on everyone again, right? So the market likes to do multiple traps, trapping the bulls, trapping the bears. So we'll see what happens. But that's all I have for today. This is Vee Trades, and thank you for your time.